Hello. Just wanted to read a little something to you from The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis. The more a man hath unity, of course, when he says man, we mean person. The more a person has unity and simplicity in himself, the more things and the deeper things he understands, and that without labor, because he receives the light of understanding from above. The spirit which is pure, sincere, and steadfast is not distracted, though it has many works to do, because it does all things to the honor of God, and strives to be free from all thoughts of self-seeking. So that's very nice. The more a person has unity and simplicity in himself. You see, when we are scattered, today a lot of people's attention is scattered, and their thoughts are scattered. Now, why is that? Well, let's look at it from the other point of view. See, how can I say this? It's so clear to me, but it's difficult to say. I want to keep it simple. When a person is centered upon intuition, you could call it intuition, conscience, what you know in your heart, which is from God. It's from God's light. In the light, the soul observes and understands. Okay? The light imparts somehow wisdom, love, and understanding, and realizations. Okay? And all of this is from God. And it's all good because it's what God wants you to know. Okay? And so it's good, and it's pure, and it's from God, and it is true and not a lie. And it comes from a single source, from a heavenly abode, because it's all from one thing. It's all from God. And it is endlessly deep. It seems simple, like light. Light is simple, but light reveals everything. The light is one thing, but it reveals all. And so it is with understanding from God. And so, but now look at the average person. The average person is not subject to God. The average person is subject to everything else. Why? Because the average person has not yet, and perhaps never will, cry out to the Creator, where something in the person yearns for God and then wants to find Him, and then finds Him. So when you're not subject to God, you're subject to everything else. What is the expression? When you don't stand for something, then you fall for everything. Have you heard that? Or fall for anything? It's so good. If you don't stand for something, then you fall for anything. Well, if you are not subject to God, and looking to God, and relying upon God, and waiting upon God for everything, then you become subject to everything else. Now, what is everything else that wants? So, what is the alternative then to God? Well, it's temptation. A man or woman is humble before God, or they want to be proud. See? And if they want to be proud, then they need temptation to lie to them and tell them that they're great and wonderful and good. To lie to them and promise them greatness and glory through this or through that. See, we're a quick, easy money, or getting high to feel like God through some drug or some experience. some spiritual practice, or through making a lot of money gambling or the lottery. It's all temptation, tempting one to pride. And so everything then, see, eventually becomes a temptation. In that every word that passes by, the person is tempted by. Well, there might be something there for me, some little piece of gossip that I can use. See, to tell someone else and make myself seem important, or know something about someone if I listen. See, every little thing becomes a temptation to want, or when one is prideful, then every little thing becomes a temptation because it is irritating. See, why aren't they looking at, why don't they pay attention to me? Why aren't they listening to me? Why don't they do what I want? See? So everything then either serves your desire to be a king or a judge. But as you more and more reach for all of these things with your eyes and your ears, with your senses, then it forms a memory and then a conditioning process. And you become subject to it. So then before long, you can't not listen to anything. You have to listen to everything and look at everything and not miss anything. When you're eating dinner, you're planning for dessert. And when you're planning for dessert, you're planning for your snack. And when you're eating your snack, you're thinking about something that you're going to have to drink. See? The ego is never satisfied. It wants more and more. And so through the senses, it wants more and more. So there's no unity. And not only that, but when you're not subject to God and His authority, then you become subject to every other authority. Every other authority, whether it's your mother-in-law or your wife, your boyfriend, some expert, some guru, some minister, some religious person, somebody on television, some teacher, some professor, somebody. They all have there's 1,000 different religions and 1,000 different philosophies and 1,000 different health plans and diet plans and 1,000 different everything. Which one is right? Maybe none of them are right. So you're subject to all these authorities, pulled in all different directions. Now listen again to what Thomas à Kempis says. The more a person has unity and simplicity in himself, the more things and the deeper things he understands, and that without labor, because he receives the light of understanding from above. See, it comes from the light. So there's no effort. He says here, without labor, because there's no effort. See, when the light shines, when you take your dirty laundry and you hang it out on a clothesline, and the sun shines on it, there's something magical about that sunlight. And before long, it's fresh and clean in the sun. Whereas if you had huffed and puffed and used all kinds of chemicals and this and that, it wouldn't be as good. But it's effortless. How does the sun do that? It's like a realization is effortless. Suddenly, you realize something. And you didn't figure it out. You didn't plan it. You didn't struggle. It just came out of nowhere. See, realization doesn't involve any effort. In fact, it's liberating. I'll give you an analogy which is actually very close, very, very close to realization in God's light. It's very close, and it may be sometimes. There's some kind of a math problem, let's say, and you think about it and you can't figure it out. And then somebody shows you. Oh, I see. Now I get it. See how liberating that is? You see, you understand, it's so simple, and you're liberated. It makes you feel good. Okay? Well, it's like getting a joke. Somebody tells a joke, you don't get it. Oh, I get it. See, and it's liberating. You might even laugh. Oh, this is great. See the difference? Well, that's the way living in God's light is. Why would anybody choose the other way? The way of struggle, resentful, angry struggle, frustration, confusion, doubts. See, feeling responsible for everything as an ego. Why not the way of liberation, of insight, of understanding, of being free? You get it, you see it, you understand it, you let it go. And then later, if you need to see it again, you'll see it again. This time even deeper. This time even deeper. Okay? It's just beautiful. Living in God's light. I wrote a book. Oh, incidentally, I wanted to show you my Kindle. My son got me this for Christmas. This is my Kindle Paperwhite. It's fantastic. I have The Imitation of Christ by Thomas à Kempis on it in both English and Latin. I read a little bit of the Latin and the English together. It's fantastic. The Kindle Paperwhite. Those of you who have kids, this is what you should get them. See the problem with smartphones, iPhones, things like that? First of all, they're too busy. There's too much. Video games and all kinds of stuff. Social net. What do they call that stuff? The social net. I forget what they call it. You're not going to learn anything. And then images, video, video images and cartoons. And they stare at it, become addicted to it. They don't learn anything. It's a distraction. Get them this. And on this, you could have a couple of children's books, or 3 or 4 or 5 children's books, and a children's science book, and math. It doesn't even have to be children's math, just math. And it's interesting stuff. The books are interesting. If you get the right books, and then they can read. And if they're tired of reading one thing, they can read another book. And if they're tired of that, they can go to the math. See? They'll learn something, and they'll enjoy it. And they'll learn something. They'll become very smart. I wrote this book, about 5 months ago. A Day with the Lord. This is such a beautiful book. A Day with the Lord. I should probably talk about it more. Even the title is beautiful. A Day with the Lord. So, I really think you might want to check it out on Amazon. A Day with the Lord. Living in God's light. There's nothing like it. Believe me. My name is Roland.